Hello everybody, my name is Strange Eli and welcome to another video. Now I wanted to start off this video by saying two things. One, I am absolutely blown away by the reception that my Rick and Morty Season 3 video got, and I just wanted to say to those who had seen it and are tuning in again, thank you very much, and please consider subscribing because I like making stuff like that. And I felt like I was really proud of the editing that I did in that, and some of the kind of stuff that I came up with. So if you want to stick around, press subscribe, and I recommend you do. Second thing is that this video is going to contain a lot of potentially licensed images. I'm going to be talking about artists and stuff like that. So, and of course, because of that, I'm going to be showing their art. And so I just wanted to say that this art is not owned by me. All of it is owned by its respective publishers or creators or anything like that. It's not my art. In fact, when I have their art on screen, I will have their name on screen as well, to give them credit and to avoid any sort of copyright issues. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about artists and their art. And more specifically, I have noticed over a lot of time of doing art myself and following specific artists that I like from comic books, you know, either on Instagram or through various other kind of channels. And I've noticed this pattern where artists almost tend to look like their art, or their art looks like their artists. And what I mean by that is that when you look at an artist's art, there are certain features found in that art that you'd find in that person, whether it be, you know, the way that they draw clothes, or the way that they draw specific features of like a gender's face, or you know, anything like that. There's some details that kind of stick together that you recognize when you look at them. And so today I wanted to sort of bring up a bunch of examples of this, and I've been wanting to make a video on this for a long time, so I'm like really excited to get into it. So let's just begin. The first artist I want to talk about is Francis Manapul. And of course he did The Flash most famously, and now he is working on the Trinity comic book for DC Rebirth. But what's really interesting about his art is that he uses a lot of vanishing points, especially when like there's the Flash running, to kind of give it a sense of depth, like he's moving through space. And also the way that like fingers are drawn are very similar to a picture which I'm going to show now. And you can start to see some of the similarities between hands and vanishing points. You can start to see that sort of connection there. To move on to the next, and this one is a lot more, you know, strong, and kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video is Babs Tarr. And now Babs Tarr was just an artist on Tumblr doing fan art, and she ended up becoming the artist on the Batgirl comic back in the New 52. And I fell in love with Babs Tarr through her her Batgirl comic. And then when she moved on from that and she started doing Motor Crush, that became really like, I loved that art still, and I think that like she's really grown as an artist over time, and you can see it, like if you were to follow her on her Instagram, you can see that she's growing as an artist, which is really awesome. But what's important to note about her own look and also her drawings, a lot of the way that she draws hair, you can, especially in her own self-portraits, you can see how her own hair looks on her head, and then the way that hair looks in her drawings has a sort of like lighter, kind of almost buoyant look to the hair. Her hair in real life looks like her hair in her drawings. Similarly, the sort of softness of the lips that she goes for in her own real life is easily reflected in her art as well. And you can see that a lot, just like it's one of her most signature features about her art style is lips of characters. Similarly, a lot of characters have crazy wide curvy hips, which is actually something that Babs Tarr kind of flaunts on her own, and I think it's kind of interesting to see like how her own look and how she sees herself in the mirror every day, and in turn how she sees her own vision in people, it translates into her art. And of course, to bring up one of Babs Tarr's friends, Kevin Wada also has this kind of pattern going on. His own fashion and style, I mean, like he's a very like kind of thin-built guy with like long, lanky limbs, and but he's like very prominent on fashion, and like he's always like dressed very well, and and when you look at his art, not only is fashion a huge part of his art, like it's crazy important part of his art, is the fashion of the characters and what they're wearing. But on top of that, the detail in the clothes is obviously looked at by, like, it's obviously drawn by someone who looks at and studies clothing, and looks at their own clothing in the mirror every day, you know, because it's like, it looks like clothing. It looks real. It's not like he's drawing wrinkles just because, oh, it's clothing and it needs to be wrinkles. Like, he's drawing wrinkles because it's like, if I'm gonna throw on a jacket right now, how is it gonna look when it's on me? And I think that that's really, really impressive and really interesting. And of course, like I said, with his own build, a lot of his characters, like their parts are kind of straight lines, or like you can kind of see where there's almost a little bit of like a frame going on with his art. And not to knock it, it's not like it's not dynamic or interesting. It's an extremely amazing art style. But the builds of the characters are sort of more like using a framework instead of like building from the skeleton out, if that makes any sense. And of course, there's my last example, and that is Doug Mahnke. And I don't know if Mahnke is the right way to pronounce it, but I'm gonna be calling him Doug Mahnke. And he did a lot of stuff like Superman, Green Lantern. He did a lot of art for DC Comics mostly. And it's all really, really impressive, very, very detailed. But then when you start to look at pictures of him, you start to see like the way that he draws muscles, especially like arms, biceps, is very similar to his own. You can start to see, and like especially like when you look at his like profile and the way that his face forms, or his face shape, you can see the connections between his own look, his own face and hair and body shape in his art, especially like I said, in biceps. Veins are like very prominent in his art, especially in the bicep area, and even like in the lips, and a little bit like in the nose area. Like this kind of area is like, it's exactly his art. It's like it's him. It's like, I think that like when you look at pictures of him and you look at his art, like you start to see the sort of like, oh, he got that from himself. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be kind of it for this video. I know that this was kind of a longer one, but this was a video I've been wanting to make for a really long time. Again, I like wrote down notes, including drawing things in class, and I just like, I had a great time thinking about making this video, because it's, you know, something I wanted to make for a long time. So if you like this video, go ahead and let me know. Give me a thumbs up. If they bring back the rating system, go ahead and give it 5 stars, but we all know that they won't. In the comments down below, tell me if you see this parallel, if you see this comparison being made, if it seems reasonable to you, or, you know, if you have any thoughts about it, because I think that this is extremely interesting. And for homework for you, go, you know, find a comic or find someone's art that you really, really particularly like. Find the artist, look up the artist, and then see if you can find comparisons between, you know, their Instagram accounts and how they take pictures, or the way that they look, and compare that to their art. Because before you know it, you'll start seeing similarities that you will never have even thought of before. It's crazy stuff. Anyways, my Twitter's down here below. I'll talk to y'all later.